Soggy Bottom Bunch here. It is time for some creativity. Oh, I haven't done an author's tea in so long. No, I haven't. I just thought I'd pop on live. I'm surrounded by tiny little snails, and they got me to thinking, I need to go on my channel. Yes, I do. Because I have my phone reversed and I can't see me. No, I can't see me, so let's see if I can pop in here and see what I'm doing. I hope, stand by. I'm trying to get my channel up here and go to live. Oh, there I am. Sometimes it just takes a second because we're on delay. Yes, I just shut the sound off there. Oh, good. You can see me. I can see me. Yes. Okay. So if you're new to Just Journaling with Possum Patty, yes. Oh, Mary Beth. Howdy, howdy. This is just an unscheduled live. Yes. I'm getting back to writing my story. Yeah, it's been a while. Oh, wow, look. Yes, Mary Beth is surprised. And Kelsey's here too. Kelsey's here too. Hi, Kelsey. Howdy, howdy. Well, I was just saying, I'm talking to myself because no one was here. Yes, but then Mary Beth popped in and then Kelsey popped in too. Thanks for popping in. Yes. Thank you for the heart. Thank you. Thank you. Yes. I'm just getting back to working on my story. Yes, because before I went on vacation, I spent 2 weeks. It actually took me like 2 weeks to make those 5 extra videos to pop up while I wasn't going to be here. And then, you know, I came back with a congestion. Yeah, I came back with a congestion, and I really need to get back to my story. I'm excited about it. Maybe because I was making all those snails. I was making all these little snails, and it got me to thinking about the story. Yes. My tea today is green tea with elderberry and vitamin C. Yes, vitamin C for my congestion. Yes. So let me take a little sip here. I need my vitamin C. Candace in Canada. Candace from Canada. Howdy, howdy. Thanks for popping in. Taking a sip of my, oh, it's good. Bigelow green tea with elderberry and vitamin C. You know, because I had that congestion. Yes, got to get back to writing my story. Kelsey's saying howdy to everybody. Yes. Okay, so I'm an author. Yes, I'm writing a book. Know nothing about writing a book. I can't say that. I'm a teacher, right? So I know a little bit about writing, but I've never written a book, right? I've never written a book. So I have my little notepad here, you know, and I've been jotting things down and watching other authors on YouTube and looking things up. And I did a lot of rewriting. I wanted to do a little bit of a reading. So if you hang around and give me some feedback, that would be awesome sauce. Yes, it would be. Let me know how it's going. And the more I look back at the story, I thought the 3 fairies, you know, because this is about Angela Rose, Maggie Rose, and Ruthie Rose back there. I didn't bring them up front, no, because this was just a spur of the moment thing. I thought they were like the main characters. And I think they're going to wind up being like the staple through the series of books. But each book, there's going to be different protagonists. Yes, there's going to be different protagonists because when I was studying about what a protagonist is, right? They're the ones who sort of go on the self-discovery journey. Yes. So something happens to them, right? Something happens to them. There's some obstacles, and they're in a pursuit of a goal, and they have to overcome things, and they undergo a change. I wrote notes down. and then they merge out the other side, changed and a better person. Well, I almost have the whole story finished, but I'm sure the whole thing will go under a total rewrite after I get it done, because you have to go back and close all your loops and, you know, cross your T's and dot your I's and everything. But as I go back and read it, it seems to me like the main protagonist in the story is actually Wilson the snail. Yes. Because the fairies are there and it's their house and they help him, but they don't really go on a self-discovery journey. And Wilson definitely does. And I think this series will wind up being, they're there and it's their cottage and Soggy Bottom is their world. But I think these characters will kind of come in and go out, and they'll have their own stories and they'll go on their journeys and everything. Unless at some point something happens to one of the three fairies and then they become the protagonist. But I had the whole 4 books laid out in my mind, and yeah, none of them really go on a self-discovery journey. So, yeah, I knew you were into Wilson, LOL. Says Kelsey, yes. Oh, did Martha pop in? Oh, let me go back. Martha, howdy, howdy. Thanks for popping in, Martha. Yes, thanks for popping in. Is somebody else here too? Did I miss somebody? No, I think I got somebody. Yeah, that's Junk Journal Magic is Kelsey. Yes. Okay, I'm talking about Wilson the snail, because you know I've been painting snails and I was like, oh. I gotta get back to writing my book. Oh, Mama G's here. Hi. Hi, Annette. Howdy, howdy, howdy. Okay, I think I got everybody. I'm gonna be talking, so I gotta keep my eye on the scrolling chat there. So I was thinking maybe Wilson is the protagonist, because he's the main one who goes, howdy, and that he's the main one that goes on this journey of discovery. And is Wilson crazy like Skippy John Jones? I don't know. Who's Skippy John Jones? No, he's not crazy. He's a loner. He's vain. That's what I'm going to work on. I'm going to take some notes, but you're going to help me. Yes, I need help today. Help. Help. Oh, this tea is so good. No, I don't know who Skippy John is. Skippy John? Oh. Junk Journal Magic is Kelsey. You know Kelsey from when I do my possum treehouse. Yeah, she's always at the live. Oh, I'm looking. I'm in a big space today. Space looks bigger. You can see all my junk in the corner back there. Yeah, strange angles today, isn't it? Oh, that's okay. Bling, bling. Bling, bling. Brittany's here. Howdy, howdy. And where's little 24-karat Kelsey? He's a Siamese cat who thinks he's a chihuahua. I'll write that down. Skippy John. Crazy Skippy John. Crazy Skippy John. Oh, you learn something new every day. It's a story about a cat. Oh, Very Don Quixote. Oh, I get it. I get it. Very Don Quixote. Very familiar with that story, yes. It's a long series. Anyway, so I want to make sure that I'm really bringing out Wilson's personality so that this journey of self-discovery for the snail, yes, really shines through the story, because I think that's the direction this is going in. Yes. And then a minor a minor character, a little bit of a protagonist, because she does have obstacles she has to overcome. It's going to be, you know, the ladybug. But Trello thinks he's a giant. I'm sorry, I'm reading the chat there. Yeah, because she has the obstacle she has to come. That little Bybee the bug there. And then a character is introduced into the story, but her story will be in the next book. So, I mean, she's introduced, she's there, but she has a much bigger part in books that are coming up. So we have the three fairies and Wilson. And Wilson, I think it's Wilson, yes. I think Wilson is the protagonist. Like, he's the one on a self-discovery journey. Yes, the snail. Most writers I know shake up the original story a few times, not a problem, and easy to revive. Yeah, well, the story the story will get rewritten because everything needs to get revised and edited. You know, you need to cut things out and close loops and everything. But just looking at what I've already written and learning more about what a protagonist is, I was like, Wilson's the protagonist. He's the one going on the big self-discovery journey. Oh, can I move that back a little bit? Yeah. All right, so I'm going to treat you. Of course, I'm not going to be able to watch the chat while I do this, but I will come back and read in just a second. All right, do you want to hear a little bit of the rewrite, or do you want me to just jump in and read the rewrite, or do you want me to show a little bit more about how I'm developing Wilson as a character? Because you're here to help me, so. I was reading a part of the story and I'm like, no, I revised that. And then I found the story. Yes, then I found the story. So I've been away for a few weeks and I really got to get back into it and finish this up. All right, let me go back to, oh, yes, both. I want to know about the magic snail. Mama G says both. Okay. All right, so I have to cover the chat for a moment because everything is on this one computer here. And you might remember, or maybe you don't, if you came to my other author teas, they're all there on my channel. Yes, I did read the beginning of the story, and the story starts in a storm, and that's when it actually starts with the ladybug trapped in an upside down cup trying to get out. And Angela Rose rescues her and brings her back to the cottage. And you have the cozy little scene of the fairies there. And if you remember, I put in a little bit of a song. This is all in the other video, so I'm not going to go over that now. And I changed some of the things, but while they're in their cozy little cottage and, you know, taking care of little Bybee the bug, a mysterious stranger appears outside the window. So yellow candlelight spilled through the kitchen window into the stormy evening, striking a puddle near the garden gate. It revealed the silhouette of a tiny figure. A soft sigh, a sad sob, and a hiccup were lost to the sounds of the storm. The night pressed in, chillier now, and the sighs and sobs turned into gasps and gulps. Wah! A final desperate wail carried over the howling wind as the mysterious shadow of a creature collapsed into the mud. So that's at the beginning of the story. So I'm just introducing a little bit of Somebody else is showing up. Now, Angela Rose, she's like the caregiver fairy. Angela Rose's pointy ears perked up. "What was that?" she asked, her eyes darting about the room, searching for someone needing help. It sounded like a cry. Without pausing, Ruthie Rose assured her sister, "It's only the wind," emphasizing the word wind with a final strike of her hammer. Done. She's building a little bed for the bug, okay? Done, she declared as she pushed the loose strands of hair from her face and popped the hammer back into an apron pocket. She's a magical apron. She added, "I believe one stormy rescue today is enough, even for you, dear sister." Angela Rose smiled, but there was still a worried look in her eyes. Cradling the little bug in her arms like a baby, she crossed the room to inspect her sister's handiwork. She announced as she went, "Her name is Bybie." Okay, so they're talking about the bug. We'll come back to the bug on another day. We're focusing on Wilson. All right, so they have some scones and they have a cup of tea and they go to bed. This conversation's going on, okay. I might have read this part before. Okay, so now it's later that night. Let me scroll ahead I have to scroll back. In the first version, let's see. Okay. And I think this part is, no, I've changed it. So now it's later that night. And the first version I had later, after the sisters were snugly tucked in, the soothing sounds of sleep came from only two of the beds. Angela Rose, fully awake, was staring at the luminous stars on the ceiling. Ruthie Rose had painted them with a special pigment borrowed from her firefly. And the updated version is almost the same, but I broke it into two paragraphs. That was one paragraph. Later that night, after the sisters were snugly tucked in, the soothing sounds of sleep came from only two of the beds. And then I made a new paragraph. Angela Rose, fully awake, stared at the luminous stars on the ceiling, painted by Ruthie Rose using a special pigment borrowed from a firefly. I guess they're exactly the same, but I broke the paragraph into two for easier reading, yes. The first version. There was a gentle tingling on her skin as if she were walking through a spider's web. Someone was in trouble. She was sure of it. As quietly as she could, Angela Rose pushed her quilt back and swung her bare feet to the floor. Her sparkling wings, fluttering ever so slightly, lifted her onto her toes. Silently, she made her way to the window. She stared into the darkness, straining her keen eyes to try to catch even the faintest glimpse of movement. One big, huge paragraph. And I broke that down, adding some things to it. After I read this part, I'm going to go check the chat. So hang in there. I'll be right there. So remember, the other one was there was a gentle tingling, okay? New version. A subtle tingling brushed over her skin as if she was walking through a spider's web. Someone was in trouble. She could feel it. As quietly as she could, Angela Rose pushed her quilt back and swung her bare feet to the floor. Her wings sparkled in the dim light, fluttering just enough to lift her onto her toes. Silent as a shadow, she tiptoed to the window. Oh, I have to go. There's more. Was the rain letting up? A swirling mist curled around the cottage, veiling the night beyond. A brown moth, damp wings spread wide, clung to the other side of the clear mica stone window pane. Angela Rose's keen eyes searched past the moth into the darkness to catch even the faintest flicker of movement. Nothing. So I really spiced that part up. Yes, and I broke it down into smaller paragraphs. All right, let me hop over to here to see if anybody's said anything, because I can't do both at the same time. Okay, I gotta hit the arrow down. All right. Okay, I think we're good. Any comments? You want to put in any comments right now? Well, I'm looking at the chat. All right, about how the story's going. I like the new version. It's much more illustrative. You know, I think you get a lot more of a sense of like what's going on. Yes. Okay, nobody said anything. So should I go back? Should I go back and read some more? Okay, nobody said anything. Well, there's always a delay, so I'll wait a second and then have some tea. I'll go back and do some more. Oh, this tea is awesome. Okay, nothing going on there. All right. And I added things in italics, and I broke the paragraphs up, and I put in a question, you know, like, this is what she was thinking. And I just, much more descriptive, I think. She sighed and crept back to bed. She settled herself under the quilt, closed her eyes, and tried to still her worried mind. And then sleep arrived as the storm departed. In the quiet night, Angela Rose tossed and turned in a restless slumber. And then I have a space, like a separator space, so you know you're in a new scene. The full moon smiled as the clouds drifted apart. Silver moonbeams streamed down upon the fairies' garden, encouraging the fireflies to begin their nightly dance. But instead of slowly rising to the treetops, the blinking lights gathered by the garden gate. This night, the insects' odd behavior could be explained by their interest in a certain mud puddle. The fireflies circled it slowly, yellow lights barely reflecting on the wet, dark mud. What was hidden just beneath the surface? In italics, of course, yes. Okay. And then in the revised story, it goes back to the fairies in the cottage and the signs of spring and little Bybie recovering and let's see. Maggie Rose is headed out to the garden. Okay, Maggie Rose is headed out to the garden, and I have a whole big descriptive thing going on here. But just as she was going to go through the garden gate, she says, "Oh," she exclaimed aloud as she tripped. Instantly, her wings caught the air, helping her maintain her balance. "I need to pay more attention to where I'm walking," she said, turning around and looking back the way she had come. Strange, she hadn't seen anything on the ground but mud that now quivered. Okay, so that's the end of that chapter right there. This is where Wilson's story starts. This is where Wilson's story starts. I'm just going to check the chat just in case somebody said something. Hi, Deidre. Howdy, howdy. I'm just popping in for a short live, trying to get a little feedback on my story. Oh, Mary Beth said keep reading. Yes. I'm skipping over parts of the story because right now we're focusing on Wilson the snail because I think he's the protagonist. Yes. So Deidre popped in, and did anybody else? No, we're good. Okay. We're good. We're good. Okay. Let me put these two versions back up. Okay. Oh, let's see. I'm going to keep the old on the left so I know what I'm doing. And keep the new one. Whoops. Keep the new one on the right. Where is it? It's down here. Okay. All right. So now this is Wilson's story. So we have the cottage, we have the fairies. They've already rescued a bug from the storm. The storm is raging outside the window, and this mysterious figure appears. The next day, beautiful spring day, they go out to the garden, and Maggie Rose trips over something in the mud, and that's all you know at that point. So that ends right there. And then the next chapter is starting to give you the backstory of Wilson, like who this stranger is. And it might seem a little bit disconnected at first, but you learn, like, as you're going through the story, you learn that by the end of this chapter, that's who the mysterious stranger is this Wilson, right? So, but it starts bright and sunny, okay? So it starts bright and sunny in the morning before he showed up at the fairy's cottage. Let me take a sip and then I'll read. You want to know both. Old version. Wilson woke early with one thought on his mind, food. As was his custom, he poked his tentacles outside his shell to check on the day before fully emerging his whole body. New version. Wilson woke early with one thought on his mind, food. He opened the protective plug that safely sealed his shell when he slept. He poked his tentacles out first, the tiny eyes at their ends blinking in the morning sunlight. I love that description. He liked to check out his surroundings before committing to fully emerging his foot and head. That's the big foot that comes out, yeah. Yeah, so you learn more about a snail here. Okay, so you're learning, you don't know who Wilson is when it starts off, but now you're learning a protective plug. He's got a shell. He's got eyes on the end of his tentacles. Okay, it's a little bit more descriptive than the first one. Let me do the old one. The perfect day to go down to the river, he said aloud to no one in particular. There was no one particular or otherwise to talk to because Wilson was a land snail and, like most of his species, he preferred to live alone. That fact did not, however, stop him from voicing his thoughts. New version. The perfect day to go down to the river, he said aloud to no one in particular. There was no one particular or otherwise to hear him. As Wilson was a land snail and, like most of his species, he preferred a quiet, solitary life. That fact did not, however, stop him from enthusiastically narrating his life. So, instead of preferred to live alone, I said preferred a quiet, solitary life. And then instead of saying that fact did not, however, stop him from voicing his thoughts, I said that fact did not, however, stop him from enthusiastically narrating his life. So here he is, a land snail. He's a bit of a loner. And there's no running around to listen to him, but he talks out loud anyway. Okay, he just talks out loud. All the time. All the time, and enthusiastically. All right, old version. The slimy snail trail Wilson left as he glided towards the river was all sparkly rainbows in the morning sun. He was glad for the sunshine, but as the hours passed, he noticed gray clouds forming on the horizon. Let's see. Did I change that at all? The slimy snail trail Wilson left as he glided towards the river was all sparkly rainbows in the morning sun. He was glad for the sunshine, but as hours passed, he noticed gray clouds forming on the right. Oh, that's the same. Okay. I might have changed the next paragraph, though. or not. Okay, old version. Mushrooms popped up in the wetlands this time of year. The tastiest patch grew in a wondrous fairy ring beside the little river. Concentrating on that image and ignoring the weather warning signals, Wilson inched forward with a rumbling and grumbling empty stomach. And I changed that to nothing. It's the same. Okay, that paragraph is the same, but the next one changes. Okay, the old one, the sun was directly overhead when Wilson reached the riverbank. He stopped there for a moment to admire his reflection. Very handsome indeed, he called out to the passing waters of Little River. I did change this one. By the time he reached the river, the sun was directly overhead. Wilson paused there for a moment to admire his reflection. Very handsome indeed, he called out to the passing waters of Little River. Wilson was extremely proud of his golden brown patterned shell. To him, it was a cottage that swirled up over his back. He liked to say, "Wherever I go, I am home." I like that part. Okay. And I changed that from wherever he went, he was home, to him actually, he liked to say, "Wherever I go, I am home." So some of this I changed a lot and some I didn't. I'm going to go check the chat for a moment. I'm going to write some notes down here. Do I have a blue arrow? No, I think I'm good. I think I'm good. Everybody's listening to the story, I guess. All right, I'm just going to take some notes. So at the beginning, okay, Wilson is a loner, okay, lives completely by himself. And what else about him? He just talks aloud. He doesn't talk to people. He just talks to himself, but out loud, right? So it doesn't have conversations with others, right? No conversations with others. Just talks to himself. How do you write that down? Conversation out loud with himself. Okay, so he's a loner, number one. Number two, he doesn't talk to anybody but himself. All right, whoever's listening, who can tell me? Trisha, thank you. Howdy, Trisha. I didn't see you pop in. I'm reading my story. I'm working on a protagonist. I think Wilson is the protagonist in the story and not the fairies. I think I had that all wrong. He prefers his own company. He's a loner, prefers his own company, talks out loud by himself. What was the third thing? Who can pop that in first? Who can pop that in first? Whoever pops it in first will get Wilson saying, "Wah!" before he collapses in the mud puddle. I'll send that to you. I'll make a little postcard. What was the third thing? Can anybody remember? I have to wait a minute because there's a lag here. And I'll be talking, but the answers won't show up right away. Should I read that part again? Should I read that part again? Whoops. I have to get out here. Okay. Maybe Trisha can figure this out. I'm sure everybody could. By the time he reached the river, the sun was directly overhead. Wilson paused there for a moment to admire his reflection. Very handsome indeed, he called out to the passing waters of Little River. Wilson was extremely proud of his gold and brown patterned shell. To him, it was a cottage that swirled up over his back. He liked to say, "Wherever I go, I am home." So what's his personality trait there? Something that he needs to overcome. Okay. I'm trying to get some interaction here. Mm. Somebody figured that one out. I'll wait. I'll wait. I'll wait. All right, let me go back so I can see the chat. Narcissism. My husband came in and talked, said Kelsey. Oh, I'm so sorry. Prefers his own company. Pride. Yes, he's vain. He's prideful. He's narcissistic. Narcissistic. So he's very vain. He's very prideful, right? He's prideful. He's vain. Oh, so we have two. So we have Trisha. I have to write this down. Trisha and, oh, Kelsey too. Narcissistic. Narcissism. Narcissism is what she says here. Narcissism. I don't know how to spell that. Oh, so Trisha and Kelsey and yeah, Mama G. So in that, he is self-centered. Trisha, yes, definitely. So the first two that popped in, Kelsey was the first one that came up with narcissistic, which is vain, prideful, right? The same thing, right? Thank you so much. Self-centered, yes, very self-centered. Doesn't even want to be with other people. He's enough for himself. He's got his beautiful shell. He's at home wherever he goes. Stops to admire himself. Now, is that... I keep hitting the wrong button here. I keep hitting the wrong button. So, I just wanted to know if that is clearly coming through. I know I'm explaining it, and emphasizing it, but without me doing all that asking questions and everything, does that start to come through with that paragraph there? Self-centered. Okay. I believe it does, but you can let me know if I need to expand on that a little bit more. Okay, Tricia says yes. I'm in the mini mode here, so it takes me a while to see the answers. Thank you, Trish. Okay, I'm going to go back. Okay. Old version. I'm also doing a rewrite, but I'm working on Wilson because he's the one that seems to be on the self-discovery journey. And so I believe Wilson the snail is the protagonist in this book, yes. But this is only book one. There'll be other protagonists as we go along, right? His stomach growled loudly, old version. After one last adoring look at himself in the water, he turned and moved toward the 100-year-old fairy ring. Once inside, Wilson looked at the multitude of mushrooms that formed a circle around him. He was sure that, even if he tried, he would be unable to count them all. I think this paragraph is almost the same. Now, I changed a little bit, not much. Wilson's stomach complained. Oh, instead of saying his stomach growled loudly, Wilson's stomach complained with a dramatic growl. After one last adoring glance at himself in the water, he turned and eagerly moved towards the 100-year-old fairy ring. Once inside, Wilson looked at the multitude of mushrooms that formed the circle around him. He was sure that, even if he tried, he would be unable to count them all. Oh, and then I actually added 2 paragraphs. Oh, my, he said as he wiped a bit of drool from the corner of his mouth and surveyed the surrounding feast. The speckled mushrooms ranged in color from a pale tan to a reddish brown. The smooth caps of the smaller ones tucked in, while the knobbled caps of the older mushrooms flared out. This ancient fairy ring was enchanted. On moonlit nights, the mushrooms glowed with an eerie green shimmer. That's when the fairies arrived and danced with the fireflies to the summer evening music of crickets and katydids. That's the new version. I'm looking over here to see. Um, There was magic in the ancient fairy ring. The mushrooms glowed an eerie green on moonlit nights. So I didn't describe the mushrooms at all. In the new version, I'm describing the mushrooms are speckled, the young ones, the caps are tucked under, and the old ones, the caps are put out. All that is not in the first version. Then I said, Wilson didn't see any magic. He did not hear any music. He did not see any fairies. All Wilson saw were delicious buttons of delight, just waiting to be nibbled on. He murmured with his first bite. What did I change it to? Change it a little bit. Instead of saying Wilson didn't see any magic, I said, in the light of midday, Wilson didn't see any magical mushroom shimmer. There were no elves frolicking about with fireflies. He did not hear any insect music. All Wilson saw were delicious buttons of delight, just waiting to be nibbled on. He murmured with his first bite. So I get a little bit more descriptive there too. I'm looking. I changed the next part a little bit too. Wilson feasted on only the smallest and most tender of the mushroom caps. He ate and ate and ate. Halfway through the afternoon and halfway around the fairy ring, he suddenly became very sleepy. He looked up at the now gray, overcast sky. And I changed that to Wilson feasted on only the smallest and most tender of the mushroom caps. He could not get enough of their buttery flavor. He ate and ate and ate. Then it made a new paragraph. Halfway through the afternoon and halfway around the fairy ring, Wilson's tentacles began to droop and his eyes started to close. Very sleepily, he looked up at the now gray, overcast sky. A little more descriptive. Just a short nap, he mumbled, gliding towards one of the larger mushrooms. He leaned his shell up against its sturdy stalk and closed his eyes. He felt protected under the mushroom's large cap, so he didn't bother to shelter inside his shell. Anyway, it would have been too uncomfortable with his stomach so full. Wilson slept. I did change the old version. I said just a short nap, he announced as he glided towards one of the larger mushrooms. And I changed that to just a short nap, he mumbled, gliding towards one of the larger mushrooms. He leaned his shell up against his stalk and closed his eyes. What'd I say? He leaned his shell up against its sturdy stalk and closed his eyes. I just added a few things in there. And the rest is the same. Okay. Am I still going on? Am I doing more? Let me come back. I can't do everything at one time. We're trying to watch myself, watch the chat. Is the fairy ring important for the three fairies and him eating it bad? Oh, Cranky Crafter's here. Hi. I'm here for the mushrooms and the fairies. What are we doing? I am reading the story that I wrote, that I'm in process of writing, that I have to finish writing. And it's about my three fairies, Angela Rose, Ruthie Rose, and Maggie Rose. But I'm learning about writing a story and the parts of a story. And I was reading about the protagonist, and the protagonist is the one who goes on a self-discovery journey, a journey of self-discovery. And in book one, this is only book one, which is going to be short. They're going to be little short books. I think it's the snail, Wilson. Yes, I was telling you about my snail, Wilson. And Yeah, I think he's the protagonist. I thought the fairies would be the protagonist because the whole series of books going to be centered around the fairies. But in this book one, the two characters that go on a journey, the main one is Wilson the snail. Cranky Crafter's Marcy. Yeah, no. Not in, it does show up. This ring, the ring of mushrooms does show up later in the story, but him eating the mushrooms, no. No, the whole point of him eating so many mushrooms is that he gets so full he can't go back in his shell. Yeah. Yeah. But it's not important to the three fairies right now. No, the mushroom ring shows up much later. Yeah. But thank you for asking, Kelsey. Any other questions before I go back? Oh, maybe we can have him interact with the character so we can see it. Oh, Linda B's here. Yes, he has a big ego. Oh, I didn't see you pop in, Linda B. Sorry. Did anybody else pop in? No, I think we're good. I think we're good. Oh, looks like somebody else might have popped in, but I don't see who it is. And that is here, yes. He has to learn a lesson, right. Foreshadowing, have a fairy mention the rain will enhance the growth of the fairy ring. It's so much further into the story that I don't know. I think I'll have to bring the ring up at another time. I think you're right. I will mention it again. But he's going to learn a lesson. And we've discovered that he's a loner, he's narcissistic, he's vain, he's prideful. He doesn't have conversations with other people. I don't want to say people, other folk, Soggy Bottom folk. He just talks to himself. So these are like his three attributes. And now something's going to happen to him that he's going to have to overcome. And that's his journey, right? Linda B's waving hi. Yes, he's going to learn a lesson. Yeah. He goes through a lot of emotional changes. All right, let me hit the right button here. Okay. All right, so he's sleeping under the mushroom. Yeah, he's sleeping under the mushroom. Old version. Oh, and I also have like an old version and a rewriting, and a lot of the rewriting I hadn't discussed with my, what do you call them now? I wrote that down. Beta readers, my beta readers. Beta readers. I know, I was writing this all down. There's two kind of readers, but you're being good listeners. You're being very good listeners. But there's two kind of readers. One, certain readers or listeners that actually help you write the story as far as closing loops and taking things out that don't belong there and maybe grammar and character, all that stuff. And then after we're all done with this, then somebody has to read the whole story all the way through and just say if they liked it or not. Yes. And what were they called? I wrote it down, but I don't remember anything. So the beta readers, and then what were the other readers? Something before you publish readers. Something before you publish readers. I know it's in the note, but I'll come back to it. I'll look it up and come back to it. Oh, I forget things so easily. That's okay. Okay. Old version. Just as Wilson dozed off, bright flashes of lightning could be seen in the ominous clouds that were swiftly approaching. A loud thunderclap encouraged several little birds to find shelter in a nearby pine tree. The wind carried a metallic smell. Wilson slept. And I changed that to, instead of bright flashes of lightning could be seen in the ominous clouds, to flashes of lightning crackled across the sky, illuminating the swiftly approaching dark clouds. Boom! In italics. A thunderclap panicked several small birds into the shelter of a nearby pine tree. Why do I say palm? Too much time in Florida. The wind picked up, carrying with it a sharp metallic scent of coming rain. See, in the other one I said the wind carried a metallic smell. And in the new version, the wind picked up, carrying with it the sharp metallic scent of coming rain. That makes a big difference, doesn't it? Yes. Wilson slept. See, I got a little repeat going. Wilson slept, right? Should we do a little more? Sure. Did I change the next one? Yes. Old version. A few miles upstream, the runoff from the rain in the hills reached Little River. Rapidly, its once clear and rippling waters turned into a swirling mud-brown torrent. Wilson slept. A few miles upstream, runoff from the heavy rains in the hills reached Little River, its clear and rippling waters rapidly becoming a swirling, murky torrent. Picking up speed, the rising water rushed around tree roots and crashed over stones. Wilson slept. Did I change the next one? Yes, I did. Old version. The murky surge of water roared around the river bend and over the fairy ring, snatching up the snoozing Wilson. It swept him along with a growing collection of debris. Wilson woke up. I changed it a little bit. From the murky surge of water roared around the river bend to roaring, the now powerful surge swept around the river bend and over the fairy ring. In an instant, it snatched up the snoozing Wilson, flinging him into the flood. The snail now joined the growing collection of debris in a wall of water. Wilson woke up. Okay, we're almost to the end here. Well, we're almost to a break, actually. Old version. Without understanding what was happening to him, he gasped for air. He sputtered and choked on dirty water. He tried to orient himself. Which way was up? Which down? He was being tossed about so violently, he couldn't tell. He struggled against a strong current for as long as he could, which wasn't very long at all. Wilson's limp body was carried along as the swift water of the swollen river made its way toward Soggy Bottom. All right, instead of saying, without understanding what was happening to him, he gasped for air. Okay, I put in some thoughts. Now, the thoughts are in italics, okay? Where am I? He gasped, he sputtered, and choked on dirty water. The world spun around him. Which way was up? Which down? He twisted and flailed, struggling against the current. Exhaustion and the weight of the water pulled him down, down until he could no longer move. The river had stolen his strength. Wilson's limp body bobbed along, rising and sinking in the swift river as it carried him downstream toward Soggy Bottom. So I changed swollen river to swift water. And a few other things, yeah. I think it's a little, instead of he tried to orient himself, which way was up, which down, he was being tossed about. Yeah, I broke it down into smaller paragraphs, and then I put his thoughts in italics. Where am I? That, instead of saying, like, without understanding what was happening to him, okay, where am I? All right, so that tells you right there, right? He gasped, he sputtered, he choked on dirty water, okay. And then, ooh, do you want to know what happens to him? We could do that. Okay. So he's unconscious. Let me just check the chat. We'll let him float down the river in his state of unconsciousness. Beta read, yeah, ARC, basically, an advanced reader copy. Yes, yes. That was the other one. Should I write that down again? Advanced reader copy. Advanced reader, ARC. A-R-C. Advanced. Sometimes if I write it down 3 or 4 times, I remember it. Reader copy. And then there's the beta reader. All right, so then we have the beta reader comes first. And then the ARC, advanced reader copy. He's a deep sleeper. Yes. Well, he was so full. He was so full that, you know, proofreader, editors and proofreaders, they're kind of like the beta readers, I think. Right? They can help you proof it. But then I think even after the beta readers, you might have to do a proofread and an edit. Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Marcy. Thank you, Marcy. Oh, Martha's going in and out because of the internet. Oh. Linda B. How about Wilson Wakes being tossed and etc.? Yeah. Oops. Trisha's going in and out too. Oh, storms. Cold storms. The rain seems like snow already. Oh, is the rain that cold? Is it coming from the north, Trisha? Does he float down the river after collapsing in the mud puddle, or was that someone else? Oh, okay. Snow. Yeah, I know. Snow. Well, it's almost October. Sometimes we get our first snow around Columbus Day, and sometimes we don't. Yeah, so the mysterious figure that collapsed into the puddle was actually the foreshadowing of what happens to Wilson. But that's all coming up. Gotta love Colorado. It probably depends on your elevation though, right? Depends on your elevation. Yes. No, it's the same one. And it does get all tied together. All that's already written. Do you want me to read more? Well, normally we get it on my birthday, which is Halloween. So, oh, happy Halloween, Trish. Happy birthday. Happy Halloween. I think I do that. I'm at the base of Pike. You're at the base of Pikes Peak. Wow. You're at the base of Pikes Peak. Trish's birthday's on Halloween. We need to remember that. Is there an age range that the book is catering to? Asked Marcy. Colorado Springs. Oh. Yeah, I'd say like 75. I'd say like 75. It's catering to me, my age, but I'm hoping that, oh, I put it in the I don't know, Grammarly or one of those like things that counts your words and checks your spelling, that kind of thing. And I asked what level the writing was on. And so it comes out to like 3rd, 4th, 5th grade, which is fine. So the reading level is late elementary, early middle school. Yeah. That's what it came out to so far anyway. Yeah. So I wasn't sure when I was writing it, but I figured I would try to keep it around a middle school level so that older folks who are interested, if like the Possum Peeps want to read it, or that if a middle school person wants to read it, or if a younger person wants to be read to, so that it's tame enough to read to younger people, or a little bit older, 8 or 9, they can read it to themselves. But I do put, I do put nature bits in there because it's all about Soggy Bottom. Soggy Bottom is where I live. So the trumpet vine, the fireflies, um, the ferns, the mushrooms, all that stuff that happens here at Soggy Bottom is all in the story. Should I go back? You want to find out what happens to him? Okay, so then we have the, the three little stars, separators, so that show there's a time lapse, okay? So he's floating limp along in the river, and there's the three stars that show that there's a time lapse. I know this is probably a lot harder to listen to than to read yourself. I guess unless you do books on tape, Audible or whatever. Anyway, old version. Wilson gained consciousness with an alarming sense that something was wrong. His tentacles moved wildly about as the eyes located on their tips opened. He could hear the river close by. He was confused. Why was the sky below him? Why was the ground above? I changed that. Wilson came to, immediately sensing something was wrong. His tentacles lashed wildly about as their tiny eyes popped open. The rushing waters of the river were below him. Heavy rain hammered him from above. Old version. Wilson's battered and bruised body lay across a tree branch caught up on the river's bank. It had saved him from drowning in the flood. Ah, Wilson noted, I'm lying on my back. I'm lying on my back? My shell, my home, it was gone. Somehow, while being tossed about in the river's raging flood, he and his shell became separated. Wilson fainted. Okay, I changed that to... What did I change it to? Okay, I had to scroll back to the next page. Wilson's battered and bruised body lay draped across a tree branch, snagged on the river's bank. The limb had saved him from a certain drowning in the flood. Ah, Wilson noted, I'm lying on my back. Then, like salt on a snail's skin, the truth sank in. I'm lying on my back, my shell, my home. The river's rage had separated him from his precious shell. The world went dark with this realization, and Wilson fainted away. A little bit more descriptive there, yes. Okay, now I have a space separating, little time lapse there. Not a big time lapse, just a little space. I rewrote some of this, yeah. Old version. Hours, days, passed. He woke with such a miserable feeling that he moaned. He was wet, yet the downpouring rain refused to wash the mud off his body. He ached all over. He was naked. At the thought of the loss of his shell, Wilson almost fainted again. With great effort, he composed himself. He must find his home. But first, he must find some help. It didn't matter that he was unfamiliar with his surroundings. He knew that the direction he wanted to go was the one away from the river. Ever so slowly, slow for even a snail, he set off. Okay, yeah, I changed that. Instead of saying hours, question mark, days, question mark, past, I said, when next he stirred, Wilson moaned miserably. The rain poured down through the overhead branches, refusing to wash the caked mud off his aching body. He lay exposed, truly naked. At that thought of the loss of his shell, Wilson's heart started pounding, and he almost fainted again. Yes, I changed the next part too. With great effort, he forced himself to get up off the branch. He needed help, and he needed his home back. Wilson did not recognize this stretch of the riverbank, but he knew which way to go. With painstaking slowness, slow for even a snail, he moved away from the angry little river. Okay, now here comes the part that ties it into the other chapter where you get that little critter collapsing in the mud puddle. So here we're coming around, we're closing the loop. At first it was just like a little foreshadow of what's going to happen, and now you have the whole backstory, of what's going on. Was the rain letting up? Didn't matter. Was that a light in the distance? Didn't matter. Wilson had traveled long into the night, and he was exhausted. He could not move, not one more inch. Tears fell from his eyes as the sobs began. A feeling of desolation started deep in his body. It moved up and erupted in a very loud and very forlorn cry. Remember that wah from the other chapter? That was that, yeah. He was in the middle of a... Was he in the middle of a puddle? Didn't matter. He dropped down to the ground, curled up, and closed his eyes. And I changed it quite a bit. So in the first version, it's just regular typing. And the second version, I broke it down into much smaller paragraphs. That was all one paragraph. And I did the italics thing, so you know it's like his thought. Was the rain letting up? It didn't matter. Was that a light in the distance? That didn't matter either. Wilson's painful trek had at last come to an end. He was exhausted. He could not move, not one more inch. The darkness hid the tears that fell from his eyes. The night's chill made his lips tremble as the sobs began. A feeling of desolation started deep in his body. It rose higher and higher, erupting in a loud and forlorn cry that carried on the wind. See, I put carried on the wind because you might remember way back at the beginning of the story, if you were here, you can go back and replay the beginning of this, yes. Because I was reading bits from the beginning of the story to show the foreshadowing of what's happening with Wilson now. And Angela Rose thinks she hears a cry, and Ruthie Rose says, oh, it's just the wind. Okay, so we're going right back to where we were before. Where was I? A feeling of desolation started deep in his body. It rose higher and higher, erupting in a loud and forlorn cry that carried on the wind. Wilson's journey ended in the middle of a puddle. Wilson's journey ended in the middle of a mud puddle. But such things no longer mattered. He dropped to the wet ground, curled up, and closed his eyes. I put that oomph in there. O-M-P-H in italics. Oomph. Okay. So we're back to the beginning of the story. So where were we at the beginning of the story? We were right where the fairies found him in the mud puddle. And that's probably all I'll read tonight. But I'll do another one because it's almost getting late. It is getting late. So I'll go back to, oh, Kelsey's got to go. It's really coming along. Thank you, Kelsey. I don't know when she said that. Maybe she's gone. But thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I've been here a little bit over an hour. I was planning to do this for about an hour. Let me go back and just check the chat. Oh, Marcy says, haha, because I'm 51 and I'm here for it. Many do audiobooks. I do much better with the physical book. My brain prefers to read that way. Oh, Marcy, I do too. Yeah. I mean, I will listen. Like if we're traveling or in the car, Mr. Possum will get an audio book, and that's fine. Tricia said, if the voice is soothing, I don't mind audiobooks. Yes. Uh-oh, where are the fairies going to help him find his house? Ah, that's the journey. That's his self-discovery journey. He was so vain and prideful over what his shell. And now what happened? He lost his shell. So book 1 is all about Wilson and his feelings. There's other things that happen, of course, because that can't be the whole story. You got to build other things around so that he has these obstacles to go through and things to get over, right? So, yeah, I'm taking my notes here. Yes, we're building Wilson as the protagonist. So we have Wilson, the loner, who lives by himself, a solitary life. He talks to nobody. Nobody's around him. He just talks out loud, converses with himself. And he's very vain and prideful over his what? His shell. Over his shell. So in this raging flood in the river, he gets tossed about. Why? Because if you remember what happened, he didn't pull inside his shell. He was so tired and so sleepy from eating so much. He just went over against a mushroom and fell asleep without going inside his shell. And way back at the beginning, I said he had that protective plug. Remember, he opened the protective plug and his tentacles came out, and he looked around the surrounding area to make sure it was safe before he came out. None of that happened. No, he didn't pull himself inside. He didn't close that protective plug. That's why I put that in there. Snails have this protective plug. And and what? Oh, yes. So he's all exposed. Yes, he's still got his shell on, on part of his body there. But the rest of him is out. And he's just laying there. So when the flood picks him up, and no, this probably would not happen in real life, but this is a fairy tale. This is a fairy tale. So, yes, it can happen in a fairy tale. So some of this is real nature and some of this is just fairy tale business. So this part is just fairy tale business, right? And I mix it up. I mix my nature up with magical things that happen. Yes. Oh, let me finish this. I have to tell you a story if I remember. If not, that's okay. What obstacles? I'm going to write down. Loses his shell. And that was like so important to him. It was important to him. It was his home. I have to write this all down because it has to get resolved. Yes. Important to him. Yes. So as he's being tumbled and tossed in the water, he loses his shell. So when he comes to and realizes that his shell is missing, that's when he faints away. But then he comes to again, and the rain is still pouring down. And what the obstacle he has to overcome is like, where is his shell? He has to find his shell. He has to find help to help him find his shell because he has no idea what to do and where to go. So he just starts off away from the river, and he winds up slowly. He turned inch by inch. Oh, I love that, Linda. Thank you. And he wound up in the fairies' garden. He wound up in the fairies' garden after traveling through the night, and he saw the light in the cottage, but he was so exhausted he could not just go one more inch. No, he could not go one more inch. Not at all. Not at all, not at all. So that goes back to the beginning of the story, yes. So now, I'll do this in another video. The fairies find him and they try to help him. So what's his goal? Well, his obstacle is, he doesn't have a shell, but his goal is so tied to that because he's got to find his shell. He's got to find his shell. Gotta find his shell. Yes. Okay. So the beginning of the protagonist's journey is, at the beginning of the story, I want to introduce the fairies because they're the constant all the way through. Right? It's Soggy Bottom. And there's a mysterious stranger outside the window in the storm, and then the next day after the storm stops, they go and they discover this thing in the mud puddle. And then it jumps to Wilson at the beginning of the day. and he's eating mushrooms, falls asleep, gets caught in the flood, loses his shell, goes away from the river, winds up at the fairy's house, collapses in the mud puddle. Now we're right back to where we were. So now from here, the story will go on. Will Wilson find his shell? How do the fairies help him find the shell? How do the fairies take care of him? What's going to happen at the end of the story? Yeah. So that's his journey. That's his journey. And yeah. How is he going to emerge? All right. So he's got to go over these obstacles. So now we know the obstacle is he lost his shell. So how does he get over this? How does he find his shell? And how at the end is he going to emerge somehow new, somehow changed, somehow a better person? What kind of changes can happen to somebody who's at the beginning of the story, a loner, solitary, living by himself, very prideful and vain over his shell? So what's going to happen here, right? You want to throw in some ideas? Oh, I can scroll down and read. Kelsey's going. I love this. How fun. Thank you, Marcy. Little bugger didn't lock his door on his house. I know. Tricia says could actually happen. Well, now, Mr. Wilson is going to have to talk to others. Thank you, Marcy. Yes. So he's going to be in a house with 3 fairies and a ladybug who doesn't say much, but waves her antennas around. So somehow he's going to have to learn to talk to people. Though at first, what? At first he's not going to say much, is he? Because he's not used to talking to people. So maybe he doesn't say much at first. But maybe after a while he does. But not at first. Not at first. But maybe he's got to learn to be with other people somehow. Maybe he needs to make a friend. He didn't have any friends. So maybe when he comes through, he'll have a friend. Maybe he'll start talking to other people. Maybe he'll learn to live with other people. Oh, what did Linda say? Did I miss something? At first he's going to be embarrassed because he's naked. He's naked. Yes, he's naked. Oh, he's going to be all emotional, isn't he? He's going to be all emotional. Talk about coming out of your shell. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yes. Yes. Coming out of your shell. Oh, that, what do you call that? Coming out of his shell. Coming out of his shell. What do you call that? When it has 2 meanings, not double entendre. Is it double entendre? Help me here. Coming out of his shell. Okay. I have to go. You just froze. Not sure if this message will come through. Oh, night, Trish. Thank you for popping in. I'm about to wind up anyway. I'm running over. I was going to do this for like an hour. But I'll do it again. Yes, I'll do it again. Yes, coming out of a shell. What do we call that? I'll look that up. So that has 2 meanings. Figuratively and literally. Oh, is that right? 2 meanings. 2 meanings. Figuratively, and literally. Okay, so figuratively and literally, he's going to be coming out of his shell. I think maybe he will feel most comfortable with the ladybug at first because she's quiet and unassuming. Well, I've already written this part, but I love that you're guessing that. Yes, I love that you're guessing that. Yes, because she's quiet. She doesn't talk, right? She waves her antenna around to, well, you might have missed the beginning of the story. I'll go back and do that another day. She waves her antenna around to sort of communicate, so she's not talking. Yes, she's a quiet little bug and unassuming, yes. Plus, you know what? Ladybugs do have a shell, don't they? Yes, they do. They have a hard shell on the outside. Okay. Well, I'm gonna stop right there. I had so much fun doing this. And I really appreciate all the feedback and everybody listening and helping me out with this. It's great to get feedback. So maybe somebody could just pop in. Yes, maybe somebody could just pop in. Just maybe a couple of closing words for me. Yes. Please. Can you do that, please, before I say goodbye? Just about what you thought. Thank you, Marcy. I love your idea. Maybe I can get just a couple more before we close up. I really appreciate if anyone who's listening to this story could pop something in just so I can close, just so I can have some closure here. Okay, yes, one more word from anybody, just one more word from anybody. Takes a while, I know. I just want to close up, yes, I just want to close up with a quiet word from somebody. Okay, Marcy, Marcy's giving me one. Thank you, Marcy. This is going to be wonderful. Can't wait to see what happens next. Okay, so Marcy, you're a new possum peep. There are other authors' tea. When I very first started, and the notes that I have in my book going along, and I was talking about different things, and the ARC reader and the beta reader, and I know I did some rewriting. I put some stuff in, and I got feedback about using too many adjectives, and I changed things. I made things more descriptive without adding that many more, just putting adjectives, you know, just putting adjectives. All this stuff going on. And I even wrote down people's comments as we went along to help me remember. So I hope you all come back. Thank you, Marcy, for putting in a closing word. And I hope you all come back. Yes, we'll come back for more of this story. This gets me back into the story writing mode because, like I said, it was actually 4 weeks. 4 weeks I didn't write anything at all. So I got to go back to the beginning of the story and get the flow going again. Yeah, let's get the flow going again. I do have, I forget how many words I have written. I think I might have a word counter on, let's see, 12,614 words, and a novelette or novella. I forgot which one it was. I wrote that down in here somewhere too. A novelette or novella is like 10 to 15,000 words, and I'm at 12,614. So yeah, I'll keep, well, Linda Burton came to one of my others because I wrote down what she said here. Okay. Thank you, everyone, for your comments. Thank you, gentle listeners and gentle replayers, for coming by. And when this gets put back up so you can watch it again, or maybe you're just popping by for the first time, if you'd like to add some comments down below, yes, that would be so helpful. Did you listen to me read the story, the old version, the new version, developing Wilson's character and him as being the main protagonist? Yes, I appreciate everybody's comments on this. Yes, I'm even writing them down in my book. I'm even writing them down in my book. Yes, I am. Thank you so much for coming by for this pop-up live Tea Tuesday. Yes, maybe I'll do it again. Maybe I'll work on some bits and pieces and come back next Tuesday for another Author's Tea. Author's Tea Tuesday. Creativity Tuesday. Bye-bye.